What is up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight for something a little bit different. I've actually been getting way far behind on my lake breakdowns because we've been doing these giant lakes, Chickamauga, Lake Amistad, Lake Eufaula, all these different lakes that are taking me forever. So I'm getting pretty far behind on the lake breakdowns, and we actually have a ton of lakes out there on Simplistic Fishing, the website, simplisticfishing.com. That you can go take a look at right now, and you probably don't even know they're out there. So what I'm going to start doing is just doing some short video clips that show you what we've done for the breakdowns on these lakes that we haven't done a series for yet. We're going to start off tonight with Lake Amistad or Lake Amistad or Lake Amistad, however you want to pronounce it. It doesn't matter. We're going to go take a look at it. Let's go see what's out there. Bye. Well, like we always do, we always go out to the Texas Park and Wildlife fishing page to see what we can find about the different lakes that are out there. And as I mentioned to you in the introduction, this is just going to be a quick recap of Lake Amistad, Amistad, however you want to pronounce it. But let's go ahead and just go through this real quick and just show you kind of what this lake breakdown is, and then I'll be back. Not sure when, because I'm totally backlogged, but I'll be back and we're going to do a full series on this lake as well. So let's go ahead and look at it really quick though. Here we go, lake characteristics. It's on the Rio Grande, so this lake is actually split between the Texas and Mexico border. Surface area on this lake is 64,900 acres. Maximum depth, 217 feet, and it was impounded in 1969. You can see here the conservation pool is 1,117, but the fluctuation really depends on the rainfall and downstream irrigation demands. It says that the annual fluctuations could be anywhere from 5 to 10 feet, but it's actually gone as low as 50 feet below conservation pools. So this lake definitely has a ton of fluctuation, and you'll see that when we show you the Google Earth breakdowns. Also, just to note before we jump down too much farther and talk about the fishing and everything, if you do go into the Mexican waters, you do need to have a special fishing license, so make sure you read this right here under the fishing regulations. Now let's go up and let's talk about what we can fish for in there. First off, we've got largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, catfish, white and striped bass, and then if we go here and we look at the lake records, we look for largemouth bass, a 15-pounder, almost 16-pound fish, caught on a DD22. Length of it was 28 inches. Wow, 2005. That had been a ton of fun, and that sounds like a lot of fun. Deep cranking and catching donkeys like that. That has to be a great time. It does have a couple of things on here for lake maps. The Amistad National Recreational Area. It's available from the National Park Service, so you can get that. If you go down here a little bit further as well, you'll see the angling opportunities. Largemouth bass is excellent. Smallmouth bass is fair. Channel and blue catfish is good as well, and white and striped bass looks to be fairly good too. As far as cover and stuff, definitely a very rocky lake, dominated by rock. This is a little bit different type of breakdown that we did for you, because we really had to go and look more at the structure as opposed to the cover. Now there is a lot of cover, but there's a ton of different structural things that you can fish around, so we'll point those out to you. And then one last thing, it does say that they did put some habitat structures down there. It's actually a Christmas tree that they've put there. It's actually only one little spot. So instead of doing the whole Texas Park and Wildlife brush pile for you, we just marked that brush pile for you. It's actually over there, really close to that Governor's Landing camping area, and I'll show it to you guys here in just a second. So let's go ahead and switch over to Google Earth, and let me show you guys real quick how this was broke down and what you can expect to see on the card or the digital file from Simplistic Fishing. Well, here we are out on Google Earth, and I just want to show you real quick a quick recap of what you can expect to see from Simplistic Fishing if you buy the digital files or the Simplistic Fishing SD card for your graphs for Lake Amistad. So let's go ahead and just look really quick. One thing I do want to point out is that you notice here this yellow line. This is going to be obviously the international line or the Texas border. So anything south of that border we did not mark, and really you're fishing at your own risk if you go over there to the Mexico side. But if you stay on the US side, you should be fine. So let's go ahead and just talk about what we have over here on the left-hand side. You'll see that we've got it broken down by a couple different things. I'm going to unselect these and just show them to you really quick. And we're also going to bring the water back up to where the most current image, which was 2020. So first thing, channels and ditches. Notice the green lines that are here. You'll see a bunch of them here. These are all channels and ditches that we were able to mark when the water was low. So it really allows you to position yourself correctly within those channels and ditches to be able to do fishing. It'll really help you out when you're on the water and you have it in your graph. Let's take a look at this one right here. So right here, if you're fishing, you don't really know where the main channel is. You could go out and do some scanning and things like that and find it, but you don't necessarily know. But if you have this on your graph, you'll know exactly where you're at and how you're positioned on this channel based on what you're seeing here. And notice the water's down low. I think it actually goes lower than this, but we are right on the middle of that channel. And so, you know, back in here, this creek channel swing right here, and that looks delicious. It'd probably even be good right in here as well. And then you move down, you got another really good one right here, and you got a boat there as well. So we have all of those marked for you guys, all the channels and ditches that we could find that look to be of relevance. So you'll have all of those marked. You've also got a lot of different cover that's on this lake. Now, as I mentioned, this one's a little bit different. Let's get a different image here because this is taking us this weird, it's got a weird color to it. Let's see if I can pull it back. There we go, 2017 gives a little better image, still giving us some funkiness. But notice where we have the areas where it says check, or road beds, or brush, or tires. These are different types of things that we could find from a cover perspective on this lake. Now this was actually pretty tricky just because, again, this is a very rocky reservoir. So it wasn't like we could go down and find a ton of laydowns for you or stuff like that. You know, really having to depend more on the structure on this lake as opposed to the cover, but we definitely have a lot of stuff for you. There's some hydrilla, some brush up there. Notice these red lines that you see. These are going to be your road beds that we've marked in the lake. So this one's pretty cool back here. When you zoom into it, you can see where the old road was. Now, obviously, if you're fishing today, you're not going to see that road bed. But if you bring that back to 2014, when the water was way down, I mean, it's pretty clear as day exactly where that road bed is, and you know that's going to be a good place to fish around. Those road beds are always good. So that is our cover. Let's go ahead and pull this back, and now we're going to look at the offshore stuff. So I'm not going to switch over to Navionics because we're trying to make this video quick, just kind of a recap. But I'll show you all the different offshore stuff that we have out here on this lake. And it's quite a bit, but it's actually going to get better because typically offshore to us is when we mark structure. Offshore hotspots, stuff like that, and that's what you see here. But we've also got a whole bunch of other like specific structure that we've marked for you on this lake that is unique just to this lake. We don't usually do that. We usually just do the offshore, but because this one was so different, that is what we did here. So here you've got a bunch of different offshore stuff you can take a look at. That is definitely what you're going to want to do on this lake. I think this is going to be a big offshore lake for sure. Now you notice some of this stuff says offshore and it looks like it's on the bank. That was because it was back when the water was way down. If we move this up, it's still down in 2018. That may not even come into play until the water gets back up, at least on those. But you do have some other ones that are in here, like all these little offshore spots. These are good as well. So it's really just going to depend on the lake level. But definitely most of this stuff is going to be in play right now as you go out there. Shouldn't have any issues at all. So let's also go and let's look at ramps. So there are not too many ramps on this lake, but we do have a mark for you. You can see them all here in the blue. So those are all your different ramps. And then we've got a lot of different like rock formations, bluff walls, stuff like that. So we've got all of that marked as well. So you can see all that. These are just key rock formations, whether they be points that come out, like I said, bluff walls, maybe rock piles that are piled up better, you know, something that's unique about those being rocky areas and being kind of consistent with higher percentage type areas. So we've got a lot of those things marked for you guys to go check out. And then last but not least, I've been talking about it a lot, but we do have a ton of structure that we went ahead and marked here. So typically, like I said, this would just be offshore to us. But because we have so much offshore here, we went ahead and broke it out for you a little bit more. So we have some additional structure. You can see up here, we've got saddles marked, we've got points, creek channel swings, ditches, gouges, humps, other points you need to take a look at. There's a really good creek channel swing there. You can just tell by the way that the map looks. Points that are out there, again, we already talked about those. Here's some flats out in the middle of the lake. You may be able to find some hydrilla or something on those. Ledges that are back here, ditches. There's another saddle, more creek channel swings. So just a lot of good stuff to go check out on this lake. And that really takes care of everything. If I go ahead and select all of this, you'll see all those waypoints. Now all you have to do to get these is just go out to simplisticfishing.com, look up this lake on the website, and pick whether you want the digital file or the SD card. If you get the digital file, what we'll do is we'll email you the files, and then you just copy and paste those files to an SD card and put it into your graph, and off you go. If you get the SD card, basically all you gotta do is just put it in and import the files. Now we also send the digital files every time we send the files, whether it be an SD card or a digital file. So you'll have this exact image that we're looking at here for Google Earth, for your planning, preparation, and stuff like that for your tournaments. Go check it out, simplisticfishing.com. We'll have the full series lake breakdown coming soon.